So go to the Linux Mint website. It's at https colon backslash linuxmint.com, or you could go to Google and just search it. And when you get to the website, go to download, click on download, and select Linux Mint 19.3. And you're going to select Cinnamon, which is below the download links. Select either 32-bit or 64-bit. So if you have a 64-bit processor, then select the 64-bit version of Cinnamon. If you only have a 32-bit processor, select the 32-bit of Cinnamon. But most computers, modern computers, should be capable of 64 bits. So after that, the next page you go to is, after you go to download, is you go to this download page, and you could download from the various sites which you see below. Download mirrors, or if you have BitTorrent, you could download from Torrent, or download directly from the links below, like World, EvoWise, CDN, the Free Mirror Project, etc. Just select one and download it. That's it. Okay, the first thing we have to do is download a program called Etcher, and this will enable you to put the image of your Linux Mint operating system on a USB drive, which you will be booting from. So go to the website, which you see right there. I will leave it in the video descriptions, and download it and install it onto your computer. And also download the Linux Mint operating system. I will leave that in the video descriptions where you can download it as well. Okay, so run the Etcher program. As you can see, my Linux Mint operating system is on the left folder. So that's the 64-bit of Linux Mint. So I'm going to select the image, copy that. That's where my operating system is at. Paste it. Okay, that's what I want to create an image of, and I'm going to select my USB drive. Make sure you select the right drive. So that's the one I want to put the image onto. It's J drive. It's a Patriot USB flash drive. That's the one that I want to use. There's something on there. So first, I'm going to copy that onto another drive. I don't know what that is, but I don't want to lose it. I'm going to copy that. If you have anything on your flash drive that you want to save, you should save it, like what I'm doing right now. Okay, now I'm going to delete it and make sure the flash drive is empty. So whatever that is going to be flashed, that flash drive is going to be everything's going to be deleted on there, wiped out. So now it's starting it. It's going to take a couple of minutes. I'm going to fast forward. You don't have to watch it through. Just fast forward through this. Okay, now it's going to verify it's going to finish verifying the disk image that I created for Linux and Mint, and after it finishes validating it, I'm gonna check the flash drive. Okay, it's done. Right, great. The image was created. I don't see my flash drive in here, so I'm gonna unplug it from my USB port and plug it back in again. Okay. I'm gonna plug it back in. And there's J drive. That's the flash image that I created. The next thing we have to do is we need to put the flash drive into the computer. The flash drive that has Linux Mint in it, into a USB port before you turn on the computer. And turn on the computer and boot into the BIOS, basically. So for me, that's F2. I got into the BIOS. So this computer is a Dell Optiplex 360, and I'm installing Linux Mint onto it. Nope, it's not there. Shoot. Haven't used this computer in a long time. Okay, there's a boot sequence. So I'm gonna make the changes by pressing, let's see, okay, space bar is to include the device, and so I have to change the order of the boot sequence. So I'm going to set the USB as the first boot device because I want to boot into the USB image of Linux Mint. So that's it. So I'm going to save it, accept and save the settings, save and exit. So now I'm going to boot into the USB flash disk with Linux Mint in it. So all the boot options for your computers are different. So for my computer, to get into the BIOS, it's F2. Your computer could be delete or whatever, F12 or whatever. But for this computer, it's F2. But so consult with your motherboard manual to find out what button you have to press to get into the BIOS. Okay, now Linux Mint is starting. One of the reasons why I want to install Linux Mint on this computer is that it's an old computer, and this distro of Linux doesn't require a lot of resources to use. So okay, to install this operating system. I go here and install Linux Mint. Now it's running. So for me it's English. If you live in other parts of the world, it could be whatever language you're using. So okay, it's US again, US English. Click install third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware. Continue. So when you install this operating system, it's going to wipe your hard drive clean. So whatever is on your hard drive. So for me, I have Windows 10 on it, 32-bit version, but I don't want that. So I could choose install Linux Mint along the Windows 10 install that I already have in it, or I can choose erase disk and install Linux Mint. I'm going to choose erase disk and install Linux Mint on it. And just install now. So everything in this hard drive is going to be deleted. So it's going to create a new partition, a Linux partition, and install Linux Mint on it basically. If you continue, the changes listed below will be written to the disks. Otherwise you will be able to make further changes manually. This will destroy all data on any partition you have removed, as well as on the partitions that are going to be formatted. Okay, yes, I want a fresh install. Okay, this geographical location is correct. And my name is Ace 1000 KS 1975. I'll create my password. I'll make it simple. Let me change that so I can remember it. I don't want to put something I can't remember in there and I can't log into my computer. Okay. Now it's installing. This will take several minutes. So I want to see how efficient Linux Mint is compared to the 32-bit version of Windows 10 I had installed on this Dell Optiplex 360 computer. So it was rather slow and sluggish when I installed and ran Windows 10 32-bit version on this computer. I wasn't happy with it, so I'm going to install this and see how it goes. So let's fast forward through this. So as I was saying earlier about Linux Mint, I want to see how efficient Linux Mint is compared to Windows 10. And yeah, basically I just want to know that if it's a better operating system. And I'm going to test out various internet browsers and check the performance of it, like how much system resources that it uses, like RAM and stuff like that, and CPU power. So this will be interesting to see. So the main computers that I'm using does have Windows 10 installed on them, and that's okay for those computers because I have a lot of resources on them. I have a lot of RAM on it. I have a fairly powerful processors on them, like an i7 4790K, powerful graphics cards like a GeForce GTX 1070, I'm sorry, 8GB PCI Express video cards and stuff like that. So I really don't have to worry about how much resources are used on those computers, because I just put everything in it. I just put a lot of RAM in it, a powerful processor, so it doesn't matter. So I just want this, and this computer is fairly obsolete. A Dell Optiplex 360 was released, I think, back in maybe 2007 or 2008, but I upgraded the processor for this computer to a it came with a Core 2 Dual. I think it was a 3 GHz processor, and I upgraded it to a Core 2 Quad Q6600. I think it's a 2.67 GHz or processor. I'm not really sure. It could be 2.4 GHz, but it's a quad core processor. But the limitations of this computer is that you can't put any more than 4 gigabytes in it. And I heard this distro of Linux was very usable even with just 4 gigabytes of RAM. So I want to confirm and verify if those statements were true or not. The only version of Linux I used in the past was Red Hat Linux, and after that I've never really used Linux very much. But Linux is not very hard to install. It's as easy to install as Windows 7, 8, or 10. So it's not difficult to install. It's not difficult to use either. You just have to get used to it. You do have to use the command prompt more for this, and Linux tends to be cap sensitive. So if you make a directory called let's say Joe, right? If you put a capital J on there, lowercase o and e, and you made another directory called Joe, which had a lowercase j, uppercase o, and lowercase e, that'd be a totally different directory. So that's one of the perks you have to kind of like get used to when you use Linux, and you have to learn the commands as well, because they're different from the commands that you were used to using the Microsoft Windows platform. Other than that, there isn't that much of a difference, and plus there's a lot less driver support with Linux-based computers. So you have to keep that in mind if you want to use this Linux. If you want to use Linux as your main computer, it's not going to have optimized drivers in relation to a Microsoft Windows based operating system. And the desktop version of the home version of Linux tends to be a little quirky. It's not as perfect as Windows, Microsoft Windows, when it comes to drivers and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind if you want to use this as your main operating system. Let's say if you have an old computer like an Optiplex 360 or 380 or whatever, or a Dell Dimension E521, you may want to use an operating system like this. And you could pretty much do everything. You could surf the internet, you could watch DVD movies, use Office programs. Linux has its own version of Word. It has its own version of Excel, which is a spreadsheet, and everything else you would need. And Linux has its own version of Firefox, Mozilla Firefox. It has its own version of Google Chrome. And pretty much these days everything is web-based anyways. You know, if you want to purchase something online, you're using a web browser to do it. If you want to get some work done at work, your work may have a cloud-based system where you could just log on to the website, you know, and get your work done that way. I think the file formats for Linux-based computers is different in relation to Windows. So I don't know about the flash drives. Maybe the flash drives are the same, but when it comes to like hard drive partition formats, it's probably different than Windows. I'm not really sure because I haven't used this in a long time. I haven't used Linux in a very long time. It looks like it's finished. Installation has finished. You can continue testing Linux Mint now, but until you restart the computer, any changes you make or documents you save will not be preserved. I will restart the computer, and it's probably going to ask me to remove the USB flash drive when I reset the computer, because I don't want to boot into the flash drive again. So I took my flash drive out. I'm going to probably label this thing so I know it has Linux Mint in it. So what I do is I just take a small piece of paper, cut it, label it, and then put tape over it. And then press enter. I almost forgot. Okay. For one of the benefits of Linux is you could get free compilers for writing C++ and stuff like that. So if you want to learn how to program, this is the ideal operating system to use. Okay. It's telling me to log into my computer with the password I created earlier. Hard drive is still reading and loading up this operating system. Let me turn up the volume, because volume on this computer is set it very low. Okay, I'm going to X out of that. So I want to go to Administration and Drivers. It's going to ask for my password again. The good thing about this Linux operating system, or distros of Linux, is that it's very secure. It asks for password for everything. But on a Microsoft Windows-based operating system, it doesn't. That's one thing I like about Linux. It's very secure. No proprietary drivers are in use. I wonder if it has something equivalent to like control panel on here where I can check out what's installed in or not. Okay, we got administration. Terminal is kind of like a command prompt, like for DOS. So you could type all the commands here, whatever you need. Okay, that's a web browser. Firefox. Linux version of Firefox. Gonna test it out. Okay, it's working. Let's go to YouTube and check it out. See if it plays videos and stuff. I don't want to get a copyright infringement or anything like that, so I'm just gonna go to my channel. It's working and everything. You could hear the sound playing. See if it plays videos in 1020. That's running. Alright. It's working good. Go to graphics. Don't know what the heck that is. Sound and video. Okay, VLC media player. That's also available on Windows 10 if you want a free DVD player on your Windows 10 computer, because Windows 10 doesn't come with a free DVD player anymore, so you have to download it. So anyways, enough of that. Okay, let's go to System Monitor. Test this thing out. Resources. Okay, this is the memory stuff. I'm gonna So at the desktop, I want this on desktop. So I have to go there and do it anymore. Okay, let's go to YouTube and check video or something. You see how much resources are used when I do this. Okay, right now this is running. The CPU resource is used. Well, it was 100% and it's going down to almost 25. So this computer, like I said, has 4 cores. So 50% of my memory resources are being used. So I have 4 gigabytes, so it's using 2. A little bit less than 50%, maybe 40% or something. This is okay.
Big brain staring into microscopes is what I thought the American Cancer Society was.
Okay, now let's play this video at 1080p. It's being played at 1080p. Okay, now I'm going to go to my system resources. %, of my CPU resources are being used, and almost 50% of my memory is being used. So this is okay. You know, before I wasn't even able to run 1080p videos on that 32-bit version of Windows. So I'm pleased with this installation, and I will add more stuff. I will create more videos on Linux Mint, on how you can use it and stuff like that in the future. Okay. Thank you for watching. By Ace 1000 KS by 1975. Almost forgot one more thing. I'll show you how to update Linux Mint. So first you go here to the left bottom corner, and I think there's an update manager. There it is. So I want to update, and it's going to again ask for my password. Time shift is something like a restore point that you can create on your Linux operating system. So if anything goes wrong, you could go back to snapshot and restore your computer. If something goes wrong in the update, that is. While it does that, let's fast forward. It's almost done. That took almost 10 minutes. The hard drive in this computer is just a standard 160 gigabyte SATA hard drive. Okay. Done. And now it's installing, downloading and installing the updates. Okay. Okay, all of them. I want all of them installed. Gonna fast forward through this. It's almost done. What is this? Show individual files. Interesting. That's something new. Security update. While it does that, okay, now it's done. I think that's it. I'll shut it down. Okay, that's it.